Welcome to Thriller Bitcoin. Welcome to Thriller Bitcoin.
Welcome back to another Thriller Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have on a really good friend of mine, John from Zaprite.
Hey, Car. What's going on? Thank you for having me on the pod. It's been like forever.
Yeah, I know.
We had done this way sooner.
We had you on Marty's, and like that happened like right away. And then we were supposed to record at some point, but we just never got around to it. Then plus the audio issues here at Pleb have been.
Well, you've also had like a whole stream of cool people that you have had the option to have on the podcast. So it's not like you were short of people and you were like trying to fill, like you've always had a full slot. So it's like, it's been me trying to squeeze in there and like, saw the Slack signal, message and was like, I'm in, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I really want to, I just kind of want to just hang out if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cause we can talk about, I'm sure we'll get to Zaprite. I'm sure we'll get to Bitcoiner stuff and all those things. Just like, how's your day-to-day going? Just like, I know for me, just to give you, it's just too busy, dude, right now in Austin for me. What about you?
Too busy is a really good phrase.
Really? You think so?
Yeah. Well, right now, the way I'm feeling, because I've literally been feeling that as well. There's just so much going on in my life right now. It feels at times overwhelming, but you know, I'm still at the stage where it's good. Like I'm good. I want to be busy. I like being busy. Like I don't ever sit down, watch TV, do any of that stuff. Like I'm always like working, but it just feels like there's so much going on right now. Trying to do like visa immigration stuff, trying to sell real estate back home in Ireland, trying to deal with like Canadian taxes and get all my stuff like sent down from storage in Canada. And just, it seems like there's a million things. Trying to raise money for Zaprite, trying to hire staff for Zaprite, trying to work on Zaprite and just build features. Like it's an endless list, but I'd rather that than, you know, being sitting around twiddling my thumbs.
Right. Like I know for me too, it feels like it's just an entry laundry list that keeps getting added and added and added. And that's not even the counting. That's just like the stuff that you're accountable for, but that's not even like the stuff that like that you feel like, I mean, I don't know. Like how do you manage your schedule as far as like just a long list? You just like knock it out one at a time, or like I'm asking for help is basically like, how do I get better at doing my thing?
I was hoping you could help me on that. I'm honestly like, it's like time management, task management is something I'm trying to get better at, because man, it's like we said, there's just so much to do and I need to get better at prioritizing things and figuring out what is urgent, what needs to be done, what can be pushed back and wait. And a lot of it as well is, it kind of ties into the kind of like, you know, designer creative side of us as well. And you'll get this because like you're the same. But I had this a lot when I was like consulting and freelancing, doing graphic design, is that sometimes you need to do something, but the creative juices aren't flowing and you're not in the right mindset. Sometimes you can sit down and like it can just flow out and it can just be amazing. And then other times you're like, I really need to get this done, but my body and my mind is just not lined up today for this to happen. And you're trying to get these ideas out and you're trying to think of concepts. And, you know, with Zaprite as well, like it kind of comes in a little bit in Zaprite where I'm just trying to figure out, okay, like I need to add this feature. Do I really need to add this feature? Is it important? Okay, yes, I've decided it is important, but how do I go about that? And then you realize like, oh no, like I need to architect that a little bit differently because I'm thinking of this other feature that's going to come in a couple of months down the line. And so I need to make sure that the feature I build now is able to be built on top of, and I don't have to refactor everything in a couple of months' time. So there's just all of these things where these tasks just, they either are bigger than you think they're going to be at the start, or your mind is just not in the right place to be able to think through them. And sometimes you have to just go a little further back in your to-do list and pick something that's trivial, but like not important, just so that you feel like you're getting stuff done. And then when you feel in the right mindset, you come back to those like bigger picture important stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I mean, these are good points. And I definitely agree, like, that you get to a spot and the creative juices, I like to call it like orange flow. Like that's what me and Marty call it. Marty uses flow, but I like to put orange in front of it because it's just like a Bitcoiner flow.
Yeah.
But I think for me, like my best ideas, this might sound really dumb, but they come in the shower in the morning. I know I've told you guys this before. Like it literally comes when I'm like taking a shower, and then like these brilliant ideas or these creative designs will come to me then. But I also know that like if I'm going through a list very similar to what you got, I just go on top priority first, and then I just kind of knock it out by highest priority. And then what happens is like more stuff gets added to the highest priority. So I think for me, the hardest part is distinguishing what's actually high priority and what can wait till next week. Yeah. That's why a lot around here, Pleb Lab, I'll literally say, no, that's next week's problem. It's not because I like trying to dismiss people. I'm literally just saying it's because it's on my list.
Trying to prioritize,
prioritize like highest priority.
Yeah.
But I do know what it does feel like to get a creative like well and then it's empty. And I noticed here recently, me and Super have been going to the church down here from Pleb Lab, and we'll just be praying and then sitting in there taking in all the beauty of the church because it's an old cathedral.
Yeah.
And I noticed for me when I get in there and kind of just go in this like, I don't know what it is. This like Holy Spirit.
That's got to drive inspiration though. Yeah.
It definitely does. And they also just like relieve stress too. It's like taking like taking a sauna, but with Christ in a way.
Yeah.
And I noticed for me, when I come out of there, like some of the best concepts for what I'm doing come out of there.
Yeah.
So I do believe, and this is where I touched on a previous podcast, I do believe that some of the greatest artists of our time, were one with God. And I think that in order to create like something that's going to last like generations, or at least that's what you should strive for. If you're an artist, you should strive for like generational art, not just like current zeitgeist. You should start for generational art. And if you can do that, I think just reaching it, you'll never reach it, right? But like, I think attempting to is like the biggest.
But it's what you got to strive for, though.
You have to strive for it.
I remember having this like similar conversation with like my really good friend back in Ireland, like 20 years ago. He was going through like a really rough patch. He'd just come out of school. He didn't know what he was going to do. Like he didn't have any, he didn't have any like real hard goals in what he wanted to be. He didn't want to go to college. There was nothing he wanted to go study for and do. And he was just like working as a carpenter. And I sat down and I said, look, you're so much better than this. If you want to do carpentry, or at least you're happy doing it, then strive for the best you can be. And if that means starting your own company, then do that, because that's the next level above. You're not just going to sit being a carpenter all the time, which is fine. But if you want to like strive better, aim high, aim for the absolute top. And even if it doesn't happen, the mere fact that you're trying and you're walking that path will get you further along than if you just, stay where you are and accept what's coming for you. So like, aiming higher, aiming for generational art, aiming for something that is going to stand the test of time is extremely noble. I mean, look at, all these churches and cathedrals and things that were built hundreds of years ago. I mean, there's stuff that was built 1,000 years ago that they started building and like knew that it was going to take 4 generations to build, and they weren't even going to see the final brick being like put on top, and they still did it. Like that's phenomenal. Like people just don't do that these days.
And that's where I think at least like with the team that we run inside of Pleb Lab, and just to like me, Alex, and Logan call ourselves Styles Unlimited, because we try to shoot for, like, you give us something that you say that you need, and then we'll try to hit that mark. Maybe we don't hit it all the time, but like we're gonna give you our very best.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about like,
I think like
I think what I'm trying to say is, I think there's something to be said about like going down these roads that might not always lead to the result that you want. But I think there's something to be said about just going down the road and then
willing to take the journey
to the end of that, whatever design or whatever that piece that you have or whatever you're building, and then willing to go back down from that road the other way, and then say, okay, cool, this is where the journey was. Let's go back. And that's what I like about what we do here, is like, we're just literally trying to go down as further. And it's okay. Like if we take a left turn and then it doesn't happen, we can always go back and start again. And there's nothing wrong with failing. Like, I think failing's the best thing that can happen to you.
Yeah, failing forward is fine, right? It's, that's part of life. The journey sometimes is the best part. I mean, I know sometimes we all have tasks to do and we need an end result. We got to show for ourselves. If we're the founder or the CEO, or if we're working with somebody else, like, we have to provide results all the time. So there's always that part of it. But sometimes the journey part is just as important, because you learn a hell of a lot, especially when you're doing stuff that you haven't done before. Nobody knows how to walk like all the paths, but sometimes we have to just do it and learn. And then we realize halfway down, oh, damn, we're on the wrong path. And then we just have to change course. But we have that knowledge ingrained in us now that, like, if I ever want to do this again or do something similar, I know this is not the path I need to go down. So you learn from everything. Every step you take, as long as it's a step forward, is a good step.
Was that something that you learned like a long time ago before you got into Bitcoin, or is that something that you just kind of you picked up along the way, or is that something that was ingrained in you? Because I know you're from originally Ireland, right? But like, is that something that you were brought up, you learned, or?
Well, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know where I got that from. Like, I've always been this person who wanted to do a little bit more. Like, when I left school and left college, I like pretty much immediately started my own company and started freelancing, like almost right out of the bat, like maybe like 18 months. And then, went traveling as well. I've lived in like different countries, moved to Canada, like packed up everything, moved there, lived there for 12 years, recently packed up, left, came down here. I've always been that person who has a little bit of an adventurous streak and wants to do things like a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I don't know where that particular side of it came from. But I do know that, like, my mom is an extremely hard worker.
Really?
She's just an absolutely amazing woman. Like, phenomenal.
What did she do? Was she just like, what did she do?
She was just a homemaker.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she had like part-time jobs and stuff, which was the amazing part of it. Is she would, like, get up early, do all the laundry, make the breakfast, like start preparing some dinner for the evening, get us all out of bed, into school. And she'd go do a part-time job and make sure she was coming back to collect us from school and get us lunch and do everything. And then start the dinner and take in the clothes and do the ironing and get everything ready the night for like the next day. Like, just absolute, like, phenomenal woman. Very good work ethic, very religious.
She was Catholic or Christian?
She was Catholic, and like, we all grew up in a very Catholic household. And yeah, I mean, we can talk about that side of it as well, because that's a bit that is kind of coming back into my life now, being surrounded by more Christians and Bitcoiners. But on the work ethic side of it, yeah, like I'm very close to my mom.
Oh, wow.
Love her to bits. And just maybe that's where a lot of this like hard work comes from. Maybe it's just ingrained in me because I saw my mom doing it like every single day.
Gosh, man. Moms are great, dude.
Yeah.
I just saw my mom.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
I saw my mom, John. I don't know if I told you. I saw my mom like 2-3 weeks ago. Whenever I went down to Corpus.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I went to go visit her. She's in a retirement home. She lives good, by the way.
Yeah.
But like, my brother lives like right down the street, so it's like it works out really well for him. But I'm over there visiting with her. She's like busy. She's like, oh, I gotta go eat breakfast. I go eat lunch, and then she has friends. She goes, yeah, I'm gonna go painting and all this stuff. So she showed me all her paintings, and like she had like boxes of paintings. She's like,
nice.
I want you to go through there, Carlitos, and like pick a painting that you want. Blah blah.
Has she done this all her life? Like, has she been an artist?
So,
like,
yeah. So the interesting thing was like she raised me up until I was like 10, 11 years old, just like as a home, I guess like home mom or whatever you call that. She would go to PTAs. She would get involved in like the plays that we had there. She would be doing the one that draws all the art for the background of the play. And so I would always help her like paint or whatever I was doing. She'd always take me
there
along.
Painting the sets and getting involved.
Yeah, because my grandpa was an artist, and she never. I don't know.
Grandpa too. Like it goes right through your family, eh?
Yeah, it really does, and it really does. And so like she trained me up to do this art. So when I moved away from it and like got married, and then like had a regular job, I saw like her face was just kind of like, well, that's good, mijo. I mean, if that's what you want, that's good. But it was, I could still see like the pain that it must have caused her. And then when I told her recently, like, I got divorced and stuff, but like even after that, and I told her, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this Bitcoin thing now, and I'm going to be able to like go and create. And my friend Kyle is like, I'm going to have my own design studio and stuff. And she was like, so you're like, her eyes were like, so you're going to be doing this all that? I'm like, yeah, mom, that was always a dream, right? Like, and she was like, yeah. So like to her, like when I talked to her recently, because this is when I told her like all the good news, she's like so proud of me.
I love that. Yeah. That's so cool.
What about you? What about you and your family? Do they know like what's going on and how successful you've been so far, like doing this on your own?
Yeah, I mean, they're aware of what I'm doing. I've been trying to orange pill them forever. They get it. Like they understand my passion for Bitcoin. I mean, I've been in around Bitcoin like almost 10 years at this stage. So it's a long time. So all my friends, my family, everybody back home like knows that I've been banging this drum. But they're not obviously like as passionate about it as me, but they understand what I'm doing.
They know you have your own company and like,
and then like I said, going back to what I said before, they've known that I've always been an entrepreneur and I've like ran businesses, I've been self-employed, like I've done. They know that I kind of, have that kind of get up and go mentality. So, the fact that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm living in Texas now and I started a new company and I'm in Bitcoin, like they're probably just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's John. Like, but every day they ask me and like, I talk to my parents quite regularly, probably not as much as they'd like. But at least every week, like I try anyway, at least like to chat on FaceTime. But like, yeah, I mean, they ask me all the time, like, how's it going? Did you get any more funding in your business? Like, how's your visa going? Like, are you set up? Have you made friends down there? Like, what's going on? Like, are you out mountain biking? Are you doing your things?
Yeah.
Like, so, they get it. They know what I'm doing. They know I'm trying to settle in and like, get things done. Yeah, they're awesome. They're definitely supportive.
It's always like my sister's the one that keeps me like supplanted. Like she's like, oh, get over yourself, Car. Right. Like, that's what she literally does.
She's your tenor to reality.
Yeah, she's just like, she's like, no one cares. And like my brother-in-law, he's even worse. He's like, this lightning doesn't even work. He's like, this doesn't work. What is this? I was showing him like, I'm sorry guys, Wallet Satoshi. I was showing him Wallet Satoshi. I'm like, look how cool it is. You can send. It's like, why would I ever use this? This is dumb. My brother-in-law is telling me that. I'm like, no, you don't get it. And he's so what? I could just do that with my Apple Card. He just, because they see it really, they don't know the like all the stuff.
Yeah, it's hard when you're not thinking about the absolute wonder of Bitcoin. You don't see the absolute wonder of like Lightning and anything else that goes on top. You just think like, yeah, I can do that on Apple Pay. Like, why not? It's hard. It's hard convincing the normies that like what we're working on is, and I say what we're working on because like we're, a couple of steps removed from, Bitcoin core developers and stuff. Like those guys are just phenomenal. Like guys and gals that are working on Bitcoin core and Lightning like development are just, next level. But yeah, the whole world, like people don't understand it. Most people, even if they've heard of Bitcoin or they bought a bit of Bitcoin, it's just a stock. It's just an investment to them, right? It's just a stock. They don't really understand at all what it is.
My sister is like, because my brother-in-law was trying to like dabble in like NFTs and stuff during when the pump was going on. Yeah. My sister's like, you better not be buying those things. I'm going to call Carr and he's going to set you straight. Because I'm trying to like get him to be like a hardcore Bitcoin, Bitcoiner. Yeah. And so literally like there's been a couple calls where I have had to like talk to him, be like, no, this is why. He goes, well, what about this? And I just have to like defend it, What
about this one? This one has faster transactions per second.
But at the end of the day, it's just about having more cash, right? You're like, no, it's not. Like this is going to secure your wealth for your family, bro.
Yeah.
But like, it's interesting how family can really put things like back down to earth for you when you're. It also does two things. It puts you down to earth with your like just ego check, and then it also does another thing where it's like it lets you know what's wrong with the current space right now as far as like where we should be headed towards, like how to make things simpler and stuff like that. Do you ever take any advice like that for Zaprite, or have anybody ever like a normie ever came up to you? Because I know Michael and you are like doing a lot of the orange pilling here in Austin when it comes to businesses and stuff. So like, has that ever came up, or is that something you don't think about?
Normies, not so much. I've definitely had plebs, just random people that I've met in Austin and, that have arrived in Austin and are Bitcoiners. And they're like, oh, you're the Zaprite guy. Yeah, I was using that. And that's really cool. And like, they give me feedback and tips and that type of stuff. That's awesome. When I went to Miami,
I didn't even see you.
A bunch of people like who were using Zaprite, and that was just such a surreal experience. That this app that you just built for yourself because you needed it, and all of a sudden you go to like this big Bitcoin conference and you're wearing a Zaprite t-shirt, and so many people are coming up going like, "Oh yeah, I've used your app. It's awesome!" Like, and it's just like, wow, it's kind of like a little bit overwhelming, but good overwhelming. It's like it makes you think like, oh wow, like I'm actually maybe building something that's productive, that's helping somebody out. Like that's pretty cool.
I use it all the time, man.
Well, I've had friends.
It's so good.
I've had friends back in Ireland who like, the odd one or two that I've managed to orange pill. And they start asking me like, oh, what is Zaprite? What are you building? And so they sign up and they mess about with it and they give me like little feedback and tried to click this button and it didn't do what I wanted it to do and this kind of stuff. Like, so they give me kind of normie feedback that way. But most of the feedback is from like plebs and Bitcoiners. Yeah, because that's obviously really what the product is aimed at. But yeah,
I think what's interesting that the things I like about it, and then just so everybody knows, like, John's a really good friend, so it's like I'm not just being easy and I'm telling him the truth. Like it's a really
you
great.
You can go hard on me if you need to.
No, I think it's a really great product. It really is. Like I use it all the time. For clients and it works. I recently signed up to like build.com recently. So I've been playing with that.
Build?
But it's called build.com.
Oh yeah, that's for running expenses and stuff. A couple of people have mentioned that.
Yeah.
I want to get something like that.
Right. So it's interesting because I go and look at that interface. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I think one of the things that it doesn't have is just that elegance that Zaprite has and that fluidity that happens throughout the whole experience.
Yeah.
And it really, for me, it feels like a Bitcoiner made this and he cared a lot about the design. He cared a lot about like the little, mechanisms as far as like the UI and the UX. Like it's just, the
design, dude. I spent a lot of time.
Yeah, you told me about it. You went down to like the pixel, right? And you even made your own font.
I was just so passionate about getting it right and getting it right from the start. And I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. Like a lot of people give me feedback saying it looks amazing. A lot of people, like one of the first things they say is, oh my God, your app's so clean. It looks amazing. I love it, which is great. But then again, you see a lot of people who just like build things and throw material UI like framework on them and off they go because it's more about like the functionality and the code. So I don't know whether it was like, maybe I should have spent a little bit less time on the design.
No, I don't know.
But I liked it. I mean, I probably spent that much time on it because I was actually just learning to code in JavaScript, like learning React. I never did that before. Like literally for Zaprite was like the first time I ever like coded in JavaScript or built anything in React. So it took me quite a while to build components and build things like and flesh it out. So like I had that extra time while I was learning and practicing and trying things out. I had that extra time to like put a little bit of flair on the UI as well. So it kind of worked out.
I think there's something to be said about spending all that time. Like this goes back to like how we do things in the lab. It's like, you know, most people don't realize this. I think maybe you were there that day, but like me and Alex like stood there and we're working on literally 3 letters for the Bitcoin block party. 3 letters, like 3 letters, literally 3 letters. We spent like 4 hours one morning, literally focused on the word sats.
Right.
SATS, or actually 4 letters. We spent like 4 hours working on 4 letters the entire morning, just like, and we still weren't happy with it the next day. We still made more changes.
Yeah.
And like, did it make a difference to Bitcoin block party? I like to think it did. Like personally, like I like to think it did. I think the eye knows what the eye knows. And if the eye can sense there is, you know, not the same uniformity all around or not the same composition or just the eye knows what the eye knows. And just like the eye knows beauty when it sees it, right? Like, I think for you being who you are and from your background, what you've told me, it sounds like you weren't happy with it because your eye, I ran the eye test of John and it was like, yeah, this eye test is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know me.
You're even worse than I am.
I've walked into Pleb Lab and looked over your shoulder the odd time and said, "Oh, you need to get into Photoshop and fix this little thing here." It's like, not quite right.
I'm so embarrassed because I'm like, oh snap, John sees something that I missed. Like, what is going on? So I know more. So like, if I ever have to run a check thing, I run it by you because I'm like, there's probably something I missed. Let me see if John can look at it.
I'm an absolute perfectionist when it comes to graphic design and art and design. Like, it's just, yeah. I mean, that's how I am. I know there's other designers out there that are kind of more messy and, you know, just kind of like prefer to be a little bit, I don't know, kind of a little bit all over the place. And it works because the end result is still good. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's like, I'm more meticulous than anything else. It's always about like, this doesn't look right. This edge doesn't line up with that edge. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to go fix it. Because, you know, stuff like that, if the edge lines up with another edge, if everything, like if there's a kind of grid, like Swiss design structure to it and things line up and everything is kind of balanced, you know, you got like a bit of heavy, if there's a lot of heavy Zaprite green in one corner of the screen, I need to balance it out with like some smaller pieces spread out. So like it's not, your eye isn't just drawn to this massive clunk of green, right? So there's all these little things that I think about. And the fact that I've spent so long thinking about them means when somebody else logs into Zaprite, they don't notice them, right? If 2 things line up, 2 fields in a form line up, you're not going to notice that. If they don't line up, you'll notice it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the difference.
Bug the crap out of you. And you won't use the app.
You have to fix these things to the point where people don't notice you've done the work.
Exactly.
If they don't notice you've done the work, then you've won.
Exactly.
You know, like they just log in and see, oh, this thing's beautiful. It works right. Okay.
And they don't even think like the best compliment you can get is like, wow, that looks amazing. Cool. So where's the other thing? It's like you just delivered what they wanted plus a little bit more. And then they're like, okay, cool. Now where's this? And they're just like, they're waiting in hand for the next thing. Like that's the best compliment you can get. At least for me, I just like, cool. I hit it out of the park because had they been
as in you mean they think what you delivered is so like well done that like they think that's done and on to the next one.
Yeah, and they're dismissing it so fast because it's just the quick eye glance that they see whatever they see, and then they go to the next thing. Like we've been getting so many compliments about Bitcoin plus the logo and stuff like that, and for me, like that was a collaborative effort with me and Alex. Like
that's really cool.
Me and Alex have like me and Alex spent a lot of time thinking about this, and like we spent like a weekend like just thinking about concepts, and then we go back and forth via email. And I'd say, hey, what about this design concept? This is what I'm thinking. Very similar to what like
I love that you
Storm Thurgeson did like with Led Zeppelin, or not. It wasn't Storm that did Led Zeppelin 3, but like it was was Jimmy Page's like old art friend from college that did Led Zeppelin 3. And I remember sending that over to Alex, and I was like, hey, Alex, so this is what I'm thinking for Bitcoin Plus Plus. Let's recreate Led Zeppelin 3, but for Austin and Bitcoin Plus Plus, and let's see if we can like hit it out of the park. And so like we went back and forth via email and Telegram for like a weekend. And finally we were like, cool. And then shower mode came on. I went to the shower in the morning. Yeah. And then all these flood of ideas of like, oh, we could do this. We could do this. So me and Alex went one day, like after lunch, and we spent the whole afternoon, like getting all the graffiti from Austin and like implementing it.
Proof of work.
Yeah. Proof of work. But
I love that because I remember you told me that idea as well that you were thinking about. You're like, hey, John, I had this idea for Bitcoin Plus Plus. What do you think? And you got me to Google like the Led Zeppelin cover. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's really cool. And then to see the final product, what you've done, especially when you wrote that article as well about that like design engineer in Apple. I can't remember her name now.
I would have to look it up. But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Susan, yeah. And is Susan Page? Susan, no.
Yeah, let me look it up real quick while you...
But yeah, you wrote that article, and I remember thinking like, man, I didn't even like realize like who she was, even though I've been such a long time Apple user. But to see you research that and like tie that like old computer UI into the Led Zeppelin to provide the overall Bitcoin Plus Plus like website and stuff, like was really cool. Like just to see how your whole thought process went through that and piece it all together, I think was really cool.
Yeah, her name was Susan Kerr.
Susan Kerr, that was it.
Yeah, and there's an article in Thriller Bitcoin, but she talks about like the Macintosh commercial. She was like friends with Eddie Hertzfeld. She went to high school with him, and like, but she's the one who created all the all the early
graphical interfaces.
Yeah, she created the control panel early on for the Macintosh. She created the icon. She did a lot of this stuff. Yeah, and it was interesting. You know where she grabbed her inspiration from?
No.
She grabbed her inspiration from comic books.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, she had a lot. Like when I was studying her, like for a couple days, just like looking into her, like understanding, like because I, like if I'm gonna create a design or something, I literally try to get inside the mind of the person who created it before me, just so I can understand like what their thought process was. Like if there's information out there, so I can understand like what were they thinking when they were doing it. I need to get in that, kind of like an actor would get into the frame of mind of like whatever person they're going to act for. I try to do that with like designs where I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go and create this. I'm going to use these 3 little elements, but I want to get into the mind frame of this. So then I went to go look up Led Zeppelin, and I was like, okay, tell me the story behind Led Zeppelin 3. I need to understand like where this was coming from.
Yeah.
And because I want to understand like where the fluidity in the design or whatever it is that I see that catches my eye, like I want to know what that secret sauce is.
Yeah.
And I think when you spend that much time in research, I think that's when you can create something really cool. And then if you have somebody super talented like Alex helping you.
I love the way you do. I love the way you do that though, because like we were just talking about that the other night, like sitting out on my balcony, right? Like we were talking about, we were getting a little bit like,
the other night.
I don't know if you were paying attention to myself and Kyle with the lunar eclipse. We were talking about all like kind of crazy stuff. But then we started talking about like design and music. Oh man, I've been listening to so much like Greta Fleet like lately. But
you've been jamming that album, or the first one, or which one? The first, second, or third?
No,
like the third one.
The one from last year to the 2021 album. What's it called? The Garden.
I don't know. I remember when they came out and they were like on the cover of Rolling Stone, and I was like, oh wow, who's this band? And then heard that first album,
but yeah, we were talking about we were just talking about that, that phrase about like strong men, weak times, hard times.
Yeah,
like
we were. That was a heavy conversation. I remember.
And then you started like just writing up a blog post and like putting your thoughts together and started like researching like the Pink Floyd album, like and tying everything together. And it's just like, oh man, like it's cool to see how your brain like just goes through all that like process stuff.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. It was just, I think it was just started from the dinner in like Fogo de Chao. And then it was just like, we just mentioned something and all of a sudden it just lit a spark in all of us to have this conversation. We went back to my place and kept talking. And then the inspiration just came from that like whole conversation.
Just kind of flowed out. I think that "Wish You Were Here" thing was something I had been Like usually I've been doing this thing lately. I don't know how you do your Twitter, but for me lately, I just been using it as thoughts. Like, cause I
Yeah.
notice like on Twitter, no one pays attention to me. Like no one does, unless I'm like retweeting Kyle.
I've too small of a follower count.
Yeah, me too.
To
I have
make
too
any
small.
splash on
So
Twitter.
no one pays attention to me. So literally these days, I just been using it as like almost
Like a diary,
like a diary entries, and I'll literally just like post these ideas. And I wish you were here with something of an idea that I had like for like a month or two, where like me and my brother, like he's my younger brother David, and he lives in Seattle in that area, and he's kind of been like distant from the family like as of past year, 2 years.
Right.
And every time I think of that song, "Wish You Were Here," like I think of my brother David.
Reminds you of him, right? Okay.
Yeah, because if you like when I listen to those lyrics, I hear so much of like me and his relationship. Because like in the early days, we were like roughly the same age. Like he's a year younger than me. I'm a year older than him. He went off to the military, like almost immediately out of high school. I went off and like did the art school thing, and then dropped out to go to college. Not to go to college, but to go to start a band. And he just kept pursuing his military career and stuff. And we took two entirely different journeys, but we spent most of our upbringing together for the most part.
Yeah.
And
interesting. Yeah.
I remember like growing up with him and like thinking like, man, dude, like I wish I would have, I would tell him now, like, dude, I wish I would have treated you better as an older brother, because I always didn't want him around when I was young.
Yeah.
But now as I'm older, like even in my 20s, like I would always like, hey, come over, come hang out, like the way we used to when you were kids. He just like, no, I'm good. Yeah. It's just weird how that happens. Like
it is. It happens. Like it's hard. I mean, some families, like siblings, aren't close at all. Like some families, there's just a lot of craziness that goes on, and people end up having fights and dramas. Like it's a soap opera on TV all the time. And, sometimes it's hard to get out of that cycle if you're that type of person and you're constantly doing that. Not saying that's what's going on with you and your brother or your family, but
no, I know.
It's hard sometimes as you get older to keep that family unit together, especially when people start traveling away and stuff, like, right? I mean, going to Seattle like is a long distance, right? So it's hard to.
I used to live in San Antonio, and then like once I got like divorced, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 months. That was another thing that put us stress in our marriage. But like, once he moved away, a lot of things happened, and then like now, like everybody's at a good place in my family for the most part.
Awesome. Yeah.
Which is great. But it wasn't that like that last year, because last year was just crazy for me, the journey I went on.
You've been on an amazing journey. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, I just want to like let you know that like I'm extremely proud of you.
Thanks, John. That means a lot, dude.
In this short time that I've known you, I mean, I walked in here in October, and you were going through some crazy stuff at that time. I think you were right deep in it.
Yeah, I was right in the middle of like the destruction of my marriage.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing because I'm laughing because it was so painful.
It was like, well, so I'm glad you're able to laugh about it now, because it was. I mean, I remember like one of the first few days or the first week or two, like I remember you like just talking about what was going on, and I was like, man, I've just met this guy and he seems to be going through this monumental like life change. This is like crazy. And it was
sorry for bringing it in your life, dude, at that time.
No, not at all. Not at all. Oh my God, no. It was amazing to see how you turned that around though. From what would have been, enough of an experience to like, knock somebody down for quite a while. You seem to like somehow find the strength to get up out of it. And I know like your faith has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, it was a lot of that too.
But you've just been on this amazing journey from coming from that in October when I knew you first, to coming out the other side of that, seemingly like a much better person, much happier, much more grounded. you're going to the gym all the time, like you quit drinking, like just everything that you've gone through, like you've literally just been on this like amazing trajectory ever since that. And I don't know if that was just like the catalyst where you were like, all right, screw this, I'm taking back control of my life. And you figured like, okay, this is a bad point, but it's only up from here. And you didn't let it keep you down. And that's inspirational. Like it's hard because modern life, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. There's always 1,000,001 things to do. Everybody feels stressed all the time. It's like, go, go, go. And sometimes it's really easy to let huge life events like that just completely cripple you for like months or years. Like sometimes that can happen and it can ruin people's lives. But you just managed to turn that around so quickly and come out like the other side with like such an amazing like vision. It was inspirational. Yeah. I just wanted to say that because
thanks, John. That means a lot.
Yeah. The difference in you now to 6 months ago and 7 months ago when we first met is like chalk and cheese. It's amazing.
Yeah. I think for me going through it, I definitely know like putting myself into work and focusing on that while that was going on was like the best thing I could have done because if I would have been to myself, there's no telling like how everything would have turned out differently. I think everything happened like that was right around the same time like I got hired on with Marty and stuff, and even Marty was like, I'm like, oh man, I'm bringing this baggage to literally to his backyard. Like, here you go, dude. Here's all this baggage that your new producer has, and like, man, I feel so bad, dude. But like him and his wife are like, and his whole family actually were like so gracious and like loving and like
he's a good guy. Yeah,
dude. Marty's like, oh man, dude, I have so much love for that man. I don't think people realize how good of a man he is. He gets so much crap online. I'm just like, dude, if you only knew how amazing that human being is. Like, he's great, dude. And
he's
like
solid. He's a good
fact that the fact that it would have been so easy for him to be like, oh no, we'll just get somebody else. Like the fact that he did it, dude, and just like stuck with me through it. And then like, even now, like we've been, doing big things here at Pleb Lab, and he's just like, couldn't be more prouder.
Yeah.
Which is like really cool.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that kind of just seemed to line up for you when you needed it. Like like Pleb Lab started. So you basically made 10 new friends straight away at a time,
I didn't realize
at a time in your life when you absolutely needed like friends
new
around
friends,
you.
right? Because she took all my friends.
You made, but you made.
They're barely reaching back out now, because they're like, oh snap! So the crazy thing that she divorced him for actually worked.
Yeah,
it's like the guy I told you I was going to do it. Like,
yeah. But that's it. Like you had that support network around you instantly when you were dropped in that abandoned in that crazy part of your life back in October. You instantly made 10 new friends.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
And Bitcoiners who were like, we got
really
you, dude.
Cool.
We got you, dude. Yeah.
Everybody was like so supportive at the time, dude. Shout out to everybody. You know who you are. Like, thank you so much.
It would have been way different had you been on your own and you just lost your wife and then you move into a new apartment or whatever and you just say to yourself like, oh, screw this, I'm just going to sit at home like eating junk food and drinking beers and watching TV all day. Like it's very easy for people to fall into that trap, but you basically
went the other direction.
Lifted your head up and said, nope, I got work to do, time to roll up my sleeves, I got to get in. There's people in Pleb Lab who are relying on me.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Just being accountable to a lot of people really forces you into things, and it makes you either like rise up to the occasion or you don't. It's like there is no like middle of the road. Like when you're accountable.
That's what I mean, and it's very easy to, like you said, you either rise up to it or you don't, and it's very easy to not. Because that's sometimes, like I said, sometimes that's the easier path is to just give up and say, well, I'm not getting out of bed today. I'm just going to like throw on Netflix and just order junk food and going to feel sorry for myself. But it takes a lot of hard work to push that aside and realize that there's something better, there's a better path to take that, has a more rewarding journey. And you took that, and that's amazing.
Yeah. What do you think about staying in Austin the rest of your life?
I mean, rest of my life is a is a big statement. You know, never say never, but I definitely like, you know, short to medium term, that's my goal. Like I said, I'm trying to get a visa that will allow me to stay here longer. Right now, I'm just on like temporary visitor permit, like from on my Canadian passport. But I'm trying to get a longer visa through Zaprite, through the fact that I'm starting like have a startup here, which I think should be doable, but it just, you know, costs a lot of money and a lot of paperwork and very expensive to do. But I think that should give me, I think, like 2 to 5 years, up to 5 years of a visa to allow me to stay and work on Zaprite.
Oh, wow.
So that's my goal. How's it going? That's my short-term goal, is to do that. So I'll definitely be in Texas for, you know, the next few years.
Nice.
For sure. Like Texas has been amazing since I've been down here. It's like,
isn't it though? It's pretty nice, dude.
It's awesome.
The other day we took a walk, dude. Remember amazing. We literally, you're like, I need a walk. And I was like, I could go with you if you when you come to my company. And you're like, yeah. And then I think we walked to the Capitol, and then we came back around, and we were just like, it was a good walk. Yeah, it literally was all we needed. It was all we needed was to just walk around and, you know, let everything flow out of our heads and just look up and admire the architecture and the buildings around Austin. And, you know, walking around with two good friends on a sunny day is like, you know, nothing bad about that. Yeah.
And it was a good walk. But yeah, it's like, I mean, I've talked about this on podcasts before, so I don't want to like go over it again. But
what do you, no, tell me, I want to hear it.
But no, it's just the fact that, you know, ever since I've come down here, I feel like I'm just blessed with everything that's happened.
You are,
you know,
dude.
just
I think
like
we all are, man.
I just wanted to get out of Canada for a while and like escape the craziness that was going on there, and, you know, maybe do a digital nomad thing for a while and travel around, maybe go down to El Salvador, Central South America, travel around, maybe head back to Europe, back to Ireland, see family. And like, I just wanted to do digital nomad. And I got down here and almost instantly, you know, like I said, within 2 days, I'd met Kyle and I got offered a desk in like Pleb Lab. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like pretty amazing, surrounded by all these other phenomenal like Bitcoin developers and people like yourself and everybody else that had come into Pleb Lab. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm getting a gang here. This is like pretty cool. I love it. And that awesome. Was right about the time where I was starting to maybe think that Zaprite could actually like be something. And then of course, after that, like the opportunities of just going to BitDevs every month and Austin Bitcoin Club every month and the various events, the block party in December and everything that happened, it was like, oh my God, like this is like the attention that Zaprite was getting and the people that I was able to shake hands with and meet and get introduced to, like investors and everything. It was like,
there's so much opportunity, right?
Yeah. It's like you're living up in the mountains in Canada for years and you're just like tapping away in your computer and your only connection to Bitcoin world is like through Twitter. And it's like, this is kind of like, you know, it's a whole new world to have it in real life. It's almost like I just don't care about Twitter anymore because right. I'm in the Bitcoin community here in Austin. Like I don't need Twitter anymore.
Yeah, I think I honestly feel bad for people on Twitter. And usually what you'll see is like, there'll be a lot of hate spewing or whatever, or they'll be negative. And I feel empathetic to them because I'm like, man, they don't, like, I try to put myself in their perspective. Like, you probably don't have the opportunity to come to a place where there's a lot of Bitcoiners. You have friends that are Bitcoiners, and like, and we are like sharing it on social media and like talking about it like it's the best thing ever because it is. And like, yeah, it probably doesn't feel good because you just get like rubbed in the face in it. But to be honest with you, the reason I like to share the stuff that we do is because like I want to inspire somebody to go out and do it themselves. Like just the way I was inspired when I saw, you know, the people in El Salvador do the Bitcoin Beach and like with Jack Mallers', you know, thing on stage in Miami of 2021. Like all that was inspirational to me. And like, I wanted to do that for my own city. And like, sure, there was other people that were doing it already, but like, I wanted to just go have fun. And luckily I met Kyle and he wanted to have fun too. Like, I didn't want to be serious. Like I wanted just to have fun and like have fun doing it. Cause that's just who I am. Yeah. You know, I want to make cool projects. Like, have some fun and like stack some Bitcoin. Like, I don't think that's too much to ask
No.
for a life, you know? And that's where me and Kyle like really like see eye to eye on, is like, we always make sure that we're having, if we're not having fun doing it, then it's probably not worth doing in our opinion.
Yeah.
Like, we hold that really high in our
it's a hugely important thing. And anybody that like has known me for years, well, like my family, even my friends back in Ireland, my friends back in Canada, anybody that's known me knows that like I've just spent the last few years like stuck behind my laptop working. I'm just a workaholic. It's all I do is just work. And everybody's like, oh, you got to get out more. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go out for a mountain bike ride. Who's doing something today? Okay, like, let's go. But like invariably, I'm just work. And so this, like being here, surrounded by a whole bunch of new friends and Bitcoiners and working out a Pleb Lab and hanging out here and going to all the different events and everything, has been just such an amazing experience, because it's helped me work on that side of my life that I've needed to work on and not be constantly behind the laptop.
right.
I'm still not perfect. I still need to do more, but
It feels good.
It's much easier when you're in real life, like within a community, connected to people, seeing them every day. Like I can just walk in here like whenever I want and know that there's going to be a few of you guys here, and we can sit down and have a chat. And, yeah, how was your weekend? Okay, awesome. Oh yeah, you want to get some lunch? All right, let's go for a walk and get some lunch.
Yeah.
And, you know, what are you doing tonight? Oh, we'll go to the cinema. Or, oh, we got Bit Devs on Thursday. Yeah, let's all get a dinner before Bit Devs on Thursday. And, you know, there's just all these events that we can just constantly
amongst
do.
each other. It's so perfect, dude. Like I used
Human
to
interaction is vitally important.
Yeah, dude, especially when you're building like, you know, what we're doing here in Austin. Like it's like really important, because like if we're
Mental
not like
health.
taking care of ourselves and like having fun doing it, and it's just all this kind of doom and gloom and kind of like, you know, these like fear and like all this kind of propaganda that's being disseminated in the Bitcoin space. I just feel like if you just constantly paraded with that, that's not good for your mental space, bro. Like it's just facts, cold hard facts, right? Like for me, what gets me going, what gets me to want to change the world is like my faith and like my brothers around me and like making cool art. Like that's what gets me up every morning. It's like everything else can like, you know, I'm sure it'll happen when it happens. And the good thing about what we're doing here is like we have brothers around us that care and love for each other. And like, I think when you have a community like that, it's really hard for somebody to come over you and like, you know, throw you in a cage or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. We're not bad guys. We're like,
no,
Bitcoiner men are some of the nicest men I've ever met in my entire life.
Well, that's the thing. Like Bitcoin attracts good people, or it makes good people.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah. Like I don't think there's any horrible people in Bitcoin. I certainly haven't met any.
I haven't met any either.
Yeah. Maybe they're out there. I don't know, but I haven't met any at all. Everybody I've met has been so like joyful and welcoming and always has a smile on their face and wants to talk about like what you're doing or what they're doing or what the community's doing or what's happening next. Or it's always just a really upbeat community full of just genuinely nice people.
It is, dude. That's what's great about
especially the community that we surround ourselves with, right?
Yeah,
because we surround ourselves with Bitcoiners who, like real Bitcoiners who understand that Bitcoin is our last chance to fix the world.
Really is.
We don't surround ourselves with like crypto bros or blockchain bros, right?
I mean, they try to come around and we just shoo them away.
They do.
Shoo them.
Get them out of here.
Like, get them out of here. Dude, there's so many times where like crypto guys will like come around and like ask me questions, and that's cool, dude. I'll answer them, but I always try to like give them a little bit of like sage orange pilling, you know, in the process. Yeah. And then either they pick it up, but at least it's like one touch they've had, and then maybe the next Bitcoiner that he asks, we'll give him that other touch. And then hopefully by the 20th touch, he finally gets it.
Yeah.
That's all you can hope for, man. You just send them on their way.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
What do you got lined up for, I don't know, for the rest of the weekend? What are you going to do this weekend?
I don't know. What day is it?
We're on Thursday. No, we're on Wednesday.
Wednesday? All right. So
yeah, because Bit Devs is tomorrow.
Bit Devs tomorrow. We got a dinner in Three Forks.
Oh, are you going to go to that?
Yeah, I think so. It looks like there's going to be some local media there.
Really? Like
Um,
KView? Like these guys have woken up?
I don't
Like
know.
KXN? Like the
I-
local?
I don't know who it's
What?
gonna. Maybe Fox. Maybe
What?
Fox? I don't know.
What?
You know, like I have no idea. But so BK is. I think like Three Forks is announcing, like they're doing a formal kind of announcement that they accept Bitcoin.
Oh, boss.
So they're doing a bit of an event around it, and the local news is going to turn up and do a bit of filming and hopefully do some interviews and stuff. So Michael from Oshi is trying to rouse up a group of us to go down there and support BK and show our faces and maybe eat some steak and
that'd be amazing.
before BitDevs. So we'll do that. That should be cool. Then BitDevs, and then I guess the usual shiners after.
And then Saturday's
and then-
Rockland. Rockland?
Oh, Rockdale. Oh, yeah, that's on
Rockdale.
Saturday. Yeah.
Are you going to
Right,
go to that?
I would love to go to that, and I need to organize and see who's driving down and who can give me a ride.
I haven't met anybody
a ride
that's
over.
going yet.
Yeah.
I know I heard there's a bus. That's all I've heard.
Oh, is there?
So somebody said there's a bus, but I don't know like who it is. I just know I heard somebody say it in the wind
I'm
the other
sure
day.
we'll find out at BitDevs.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll
tomorrow.
find out tomorrow.
Um,
Or I'm sure we'll meet somebody that's going. You can just catch a ride. I think
Yeah.
Saturday, I'm literally just going to I want to start sewing. I know this sounds kind of strange.
well, no, I remember we talked about this before. You were talking about like
Well,
you
I don't,
know,
not even that far. Yeah.
making clothes,
but not
and,
that
like,
far yet. Like not nearly that far. I literally
Yeah.
just want to learn the craft. Like I want
Yeah.
to start sewing now.
Yeah.
I know it sounds really like Rainbow Bear, but like I don't care, dude. Like I really want to start sewing, and I want to start like getting good at sewing. So I think
Right on.
Saturday I'm gonna go to Hobby Lobby or one of these other places and like literally
What's
it's like a craft store.
Oh, okay.
And I think what I'm gonna do
What do
is
they call it? Like, what do they call
Hobby
those?
Lobby?
Haberdashery?
I think
Is that
there's-
what that means?
maybe.
I think where you get like threads and
Yeah, you can get
like,
all sorts of arts and crafts. I used to go there all the
materials
time.
and- yeah.
Michael's is another one. Joanne's is another one. But I'm gonna go to Hobby Lobby, maybe Joanne's, whichever one. And I'm literally gonna get some fabric and figure this out. Like figure
Yeah.
out how to sew correctly, figure out like maybe if I need a unit, buy one. But I'm gonna try to figure it out and like really work on that as like a hobby. Cause I really I don't know. I think there's something to the hum. I don't know if you ever my mom used to sew growing up. So she used to sew all our stuff. And I
Yeah, my
remember-
mom too. Actually, we had one of the machines.
yeah, and I remember like that thing running in the background when I was like coloring or drawing or something. I remember thinking it was so soothing. So I want to see if that's accurate or if I can. I don't know. I'm a weird guy. Like I don't know if it's just like I want to see if that nostalgia is there or if because I've been having this thing since probably about February. This like itch to do something like this. And usually I'll sit on it for a month, don't think about it. And then if it comes back again, I'll be like, okay, how serious do you want to do it? And then I'll go over there, look at what I need, and then like sit on it for another month. And then by the time it came to May, I'm like literally like, okay, this idea still in my head. Something's telling me to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Cause usually whenever I get those ideas, they're usually great ideas.
Yeah, awesome.
What do you picking up sewing too? Or what do you think?
I don't think I'll pick up sewing, but
Have you got any hobbies? I've never asked you that before.
well, all my hobbies are like athletic based.
Oh yeah, that's right. You used to jump out of planes and stuff, right? Or no?
I like the last 12 years has just been a lot of adventure, adrenaline sports.
You used to go down like mountain.
Downhill mountain biking, skiing, rock climbing.
You don't look like the guy that does that. But like now that you tell me,
I mean, I wasn't too intense into it. Like some of the people where I lived, like up in Whistler, it was like the whole community of people. It was way bigger rock climbers and mountain bikers and skiers than me. But like I kind of slotted in.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, that's all. That's what I moved there for. It's what I wanted to do, and it was awesome. I pretty much did everything. I played soccer, golf, tennis, like you name it, I was doing it. But invariably, I just kept like breaking bones and injuring myself.
Really?
And,
Oh man.
yeah, I'm pretty much kind of half destroyed right now. I got a torn ACL that hasn't been repaired.
Really? Oh,
And
man.
yeah, my
That's not
whole
good.
back is like just scratched up and permanently scarred from
great,
flipping
John.
off my mountain bike.
You look great. For being all broken up, you look great.
Thank you, Car.
What do you have on the roadmap?
I don't look bad for a 26-year-old guy, right?
No, you don't. For being 24, you don't look bad. What do you got going on for Zaprite? Just like in the coming months.
So yeah, I got some really cool ideas for Zaprite coming up. You know, there's a couple of bugs and stuff that need to be like ironed out and fixed now, just to kind of like
really like what?
iron
I don't
out.
Notice anything?
Like minor UI stuff.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And you know, the PDF, like the PDF download.
It's working for me. It's working for me.
Yeah, it's buggy for some people for some weird reason. When some people download the PDFs, half the text is missing.
That might be a Chrome issue, bro.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I have to look into it because a couple of people have hit me up about it now. So, but there's little things like that. But also the bigger picture. I'm trying to hire somebody right now who is, I think having a developer on board is going to make a huge difference. It's going to help, get through a lot of things a lot faster. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on the list. Just getting in donation pages, crowdfunding, POS system, lightning addresses, like more plugins and connectors, IBEX, Voltage, Galloy. There's a whole bunch of stuff to come in on that side of things. And then there's like the accounting side of things as well, which I think is the bigger play. That's the really interesting part that I'm, really
looking forward to, like
really interested in, getting my.
I would love to see like a Zaprite branded. I'm sure it's going to look fantastic, but it would be cool to see, because that's one thing I think I don't know if other invoicing software does it on the web, but I like how you do the thing where it just like shifts down and it shifts down. It's so mechanical, but in a very like intuitive way where it's like boom, boom, boom. You enter it in, boom to the next one, and then boom to the next one.
When you're creating the invoice,
I don't know what that's called in web design, but that to me just feels so good, because like I accomplished a task. Oh wait, I accomplished another task. Oh wait, I'm almost done. It just feels good. It's kind of the same way when I go to Stacker News and I click the up thing and it lightning bolt shite. It's like that. It's like a little
dopamine hit.
Is that what it is? Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. It's like those little things, if you can build them in, they just do wonders to the experience.
Yeah. I think Bitcoin needs a lot more in terms of like UI, UX, a lot more front end stuff. I mean, there's amazing stuff out there. There's really cool stuff out there every day.
But they all work for the big companies, I would say.
Not even like I just saw one the other day where a guy released these like payment widgets that you can embed on your site that allow you to just take donations and payments.
Where?
Then this is what you're looking for. Yeah, this is what you've been asking me to build in Zaprite for ages. Yeah. These are really cool, really slick like widgets that they just like 2 lines of code, take it, slap it on your website, and there's this really slick UI experience where people can just like click and donate or buy things or whatever. So that's really cool. I just followed the guy when I saw it. I don't know like who he is or who he works for. I think he just open sourced it, I think. Maybe maybe he's just a pleb that like worked on it and thought, yeah, I'll open source this.
This is what we need.
So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, really great to see like stuff like that where there's just a lot of thought gone into like UI, UX and design and things like that, because Bitcoin needs a lot of that. It also needs a lot of work on the code, for sure. And there's plenty of amazingly smart people doing that. But I think we're at the stage, again, this is stuff that I talk about regularly with people whenever they'll listen and on podcasts and stuff. But I really think we need to start using Bitcoin. I'm adamant about that. I know a lot of people. Yeah, I know a lot of people disagree with me. And they, they're still on the HODL meme, which I think, it's great. If you want to save and you've got a fiat job where you get regular income in, great. Like that's fine. Use your shitty fiat to buy things and keep your Bitcoin. Like, okay, I understand that. But I think we need to build better tools that incentivize people to actually use it. And that's what a lot of people are doing. Like that's what Michael Adoshi is doing, like with rewards. That's what, the Bitcoin company is doing. That's what a lot of people are doing, is trying to build these really amazing user experiences where it encourages people to use Bitcoin. And that's a thing that I think I'm going to be pushing as often as I can, because I think creating the circular economy, everybody talks about that phrase, but I just really think we need to get Bitcoin out there into the economy, getting it passed back and forth between everybody, just create as much like noise as we can out there. And when I say noise, I mean like just flood the system. Just start bouncing UTXOs back and forth, and just, just get it so ingrained in society that
it forces people to go and fix it.
Well, they just don't have a choice. It's in there now. It's working, right? Because the longer we don't use it, the longer we just hodl it on our hardware wallets at home and feel great, then the longer the chance that it just becomes this kind of maybe digital gold type thing that is worth some money. And yeah, sure, that's great. Got a lot of wealthy OGs and stuff with people who got in early. But, if we want to fulfill that dream of fix the money, fix the world, then we got to use the money, right? You can't fix the money if you're just hoarding it in your hardware wallet.
Right.
You gotta get it out there circulating, get people using it, start talking to merchants, get them signed up, show them the benefit of it. And I think it'll happen over time. I'm not pessimistic. I think we're turning that corner. We're starting to see it a lot more.
I think it's going to happen this summer.
It's going to happen tomorrow.
No, well, it's funny because you bring all this stuff up, and I was on the east side this morning talking to some pedicab drivers. That's where Car was this morning when no one could find him. I was over there talking to pedicab drivers.
Yeah,
and this is some guy who reached out to me personally.
Okay,
he's like, "Hey, I want to meet you, but I also want to interview you for my podcast. We want to start getting pedicabs here in town in Austin on the Bitcoin standard." I was like, is somebody trolling me? Is this, is he just, I just didn't know. So I was like, well, let me go see. I'm a man of my word about helping people. So let me go see what kind of help that he needs. So yeah, we had this talk. It's probably going to get released at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But after the conversation, we were talking and he was literally telling me, he's like, yeah, I listen to Pomp. I listen to crypto YouTube, and yeah, I know all about Bitcoin. Yeah, I hold some Ethereum and some other shit coins. And he didn't say shit coins, but he said all these other tokens I don't want to name. But he said all these things, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, he's going through that same thing that everybody goes through, where he doesn't know, but he does know that Bitcoin is valuable. He understands that. I think for him, he understood that Bitcoin was really, really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But he was still holding crap coins, but he didn't know. He's like, but they're going to go up too. But he didn't know about.
It's to try and get somebody over that last hump, right?
Yeah,
because
it's literally that last hump.
If they're into quote unquote crypto, and they hold a variety of coins, but they understand Bitcoin is the best coin, then they still don't understand Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you need to get them over that last hump where they truly understand what Bitcoin is, and then they just dump all their coins immediately.
Yeah, so I tried doing my little soft orange pill, because I really don't go hard in the paint anymore with this kind of stuff. I shy away from it, because there's been so many instances where I try, and then it turns into a Twitter argument in real life.
Dude,
you're just a maximalist, blah blah. And so now what I just do is a little soft touch here. I hope the next Bitcoiner that he passes will give him another soft touch. And then eventually it'll just, go the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
But I do know one thing for sure, talking to the owner there, and he's like, yes, if we can just get, some of our pedicabs taking Bitcoin, we can get the signal out there that pedicabs do take Bitcoin. He goes, because you see these effing scooters out here, they're fiat. He's like, he's using this word, he's like, they're fiat scooters. And I was like, yeah.
Man, the more I'm listening to you talk about this, the more I think this is a phenomenal opportunity.
It is.
I think Pleb Lab should really push that.
Well, that's the
do
thing.
An event.
That's the thing that I'm starting to know.
An event where you get everybody streaming through town, a big parade of
we'll get there. And we'll get there. And
that.
This is where I'm starting to realize now that, there's a huge responsibility for me, Kyle, and the rest of Pleb Lab, and even the people at the Austin Bitcoin Club. It's even bit devs. It's our responsibility to go out there and help our community.
Yeah.
And sure, everybody's going to say no, and they're going to be no, I'm too busy, Car. I'd rather do this instead. Or I'm busy, Car. I'm going to, Rockdale this weekend because they're more important over there. It's whatever you think. You make the decision, know. But I know me personally, I have to spend time, with these people of our community here in Austin to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
like they're on board. I want if Austin turns into this like big mecca like it's supposed to be, right? And I'm sitting in 10 years with some Bitcoin. I do not want to feel bad for holding that Bitcoin, knowing I could have done something for the rest of my community. I don't want to be that guy that's just high in his Citadel tower, like looking at everybody else because like they don't have Bitcoin. Like I hope that doesn't turn that way, and I want to do everything I can to make sure that everybody is like on the same playing field and that no one's get left behind. Like, this is like literally Noah's Ark. I just feel like it's that important of a mission. And I think somebody has to be paying attention to that. And I think me and Kyle and Keon like really do pay attention to that stuff. And it's okay if no one else does, but like somebody has to do it. And
I'm kind of halfway there. I don't think everybody should be saved because I think there are just people out there who, they either don't want to be saved. They're too ingrained in the current system and they'll fight against you and they'll do everything. And I mean, maybe the Christian thing to do is like, well, you save those people too. But I think my effort, at least now, is spent on trying to save people who want to be saved.
Yeah. I just, for me, and like
for me, I have a really, sorry to cut you off.
No,
I have a really good friend back in Ireland who, like, he's stubborn as a mule when it comes to this stuff. Like, I've been trying to orange pill him for years and years. And he's a smart guy. He gets like economics. He understands everything to a degree.
Right.
But he just doesn't understand that final bit. He doesn't understand the final, like, he thinks that everything is the way it is just because the world has somehow like just, gone a little bit bad and we've kind of failed like to keep everything under control and it's been an accident and the government's trying to do their best to like fix it and reel in. Like, he doesn't understand that it's them that's causing it. And like, that's the problem. And so when you try and approach like Bitcoin from that angle to say that it's, money that can't be like corrupted and inflated and printed out at will and that it fixes a lot of these problems, like he doesn't understand it at all. He just thinks that, he thinks it's he doesn't even think it's part of the equation. He just refuses to be able to understand because he doesn't understand the initial problem. Like, he's smart enough to understand that something's wrong, but he thinks it's just wrong because there's too many people on the earth and we're all pulling at resources and everything's going in every direction and nobody can keep control of it and it's somehow spiraled out of control. He doesn't realize that, the pin was pulled out in 1971 and everything exploded after that. Like, and he doesn't understand why things are happening. And so trying to have the conversation with him is just like banging my head off a brick wall. And I'm a glutton for punishment because every time I talk to him, we end up having this argument and I can never, ever, ever get through to him. And he just thinks I'm some crazy conspiracy theorist who believes that everything that's in the mainstream media is like false. And I tried to say to him, well, everything is false in the mainstream media, but that doesn't mean I'm a conspiracy theorist. It just means that everything they're telling you is false. But he thinks I'm just reading too many like conspiracy theory, like blog posts and watching crazy like YouTube conspiracy theory videos. He doesn't understand that I've done, a crap ton of research and work into this over the last like 10 years and just doesn't like give me the credit for that. So yeah, they're definitely frustrating conversations and they're like, I mean, he's a really good friend, so I'll definitely try and save him. But like some people, they will never get it. Their brain just can't take them to that next level where they understand. Maybe that's insulting. Maybe most people can if they just put the time and effort into it and they're just not willing to put the time. So maybe that's more of it rather than, me calling them all dumb. But again, you have to realize that, just a lot of people on this earth just are that's not that smart.
I think for me is like, I see it really, I've been on this kick lately where I just like been doing this KISS method. It's called Keep It Simple, Stupid. So like, I've kind of gone away from like overthinking things, overanalyzing things, like thinking everything is like a plot or like thinking like somebody's, playing 4D chess or whatever, 3D chess with you, or whatever you want to call it these days. Or like, thinking that there's alpha out there and like you shouldn't share it. Like, I'm just on this new kick lately where I just like keep it simple, stupid. And the more I just keep it simple, like the more I realize like life's really easy when you don't overthink things. Like you just go, your heart is in the right place and your soul's telling you the right way to go. And you just keep it simple. And like all like people will subtly pick up on that. And then they'll either want to help you or they don't. And either way, you just keep it simple. You just keep trekking towards it. And it doesn't need to be any more difficult than that, right? So like, you know, I can make a statement of like, yeah, I want to help my community. But at the end of the day, like if people want to help me, cool. But if like people don't want to help me, that's okay too. Like, it's not a big deal. But I know for me, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to go try to help as many people as I can. Yeah. And yes, there's going to be some people that say, I think you're crazy or whatever. I'm like, well, I don't think so. But, you know, thank you for your time. Go to the next one. But if I keep it that simple, or I just keep it very like 1, 2, 3, ABC, like just keep it really simple, I think you can accomplish a lot when you try not to let outside influences, outside expectations, or even your own expectations. Like you just try to just look at it from that kind of like grassroots approach. I think that's how you get things done in a community. It's just like that with that method. And that's what I think it's been. That's why I think it's been successful for us. Yeah, I love that. And I see that in your work ethic and everything that you guys do. And we chatted about this briefly the other night as well. It's kind of similar to the way I'm thinking about things right now as well. Like I mentioned before. Yeah, we were talking about some people just can't, like don't want to be saved. So I kind of just don't put any energy into them anymore. So I'm almost kind of at the stage where I'm just not trying to orange pill anybody anymore. I used to a lot and I still do a little bit, but now I'm just like focused on, okay, look, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going like, I know the path I'm on. I'm going for it. I'm building my business. I'm going to surround myself by good people. I've tried for so long to like orange pill certain friends and certain family members. They haven't got it. I don't have any more energy left to like bang that drum again. So I'm just going to like, you know, follow the path I'm on. So it's kind of like keep it simple. It's just like, I think it focus works on what you believe in, work on it, and you'll get to where you want to go. And then also too, what I've noticed, don't worry about all these crazy distractions on Twitter about like head down and just get people to work. Talking about Luna and Terra and Cardano and everybody's talking about that now. And it's all these like big personalities on Twitter who are like, you know, spending so much time back and forth with like Cardano heads on Twitter. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing? It's almost like it's like a point and like laugh kind of thing. And it feels almost like a kind of like the Salem trials, right? Where you're pointing and laughing for other people's misery. And to me, I just don't think that's worth my time or even like effort to like even talk about it. Cause it's just, to me, I want to go and help people that, and this is where I was, just to get back to the conversation, is like, there'll be people that will reach out directly. Right. And those are the people I feel like you should help first, because they're reaching out for help. Yeah. Help those people. Like 100%. The people that you see on the street, sure, try your best, right? But like the people that are directly asking you for help in the DMs or in the emails, help them out, right? Especially if they're not trying to push a coin or something. Yeah. You get a lot of those too. But that's true. I actually had a couple of months ago, I actually had a guy DM me, and I can't remember how the conversation started, but he ended up telling me he was trying to build this system on Ethereum or on Solano, one of them, I can't remember. And I can't remember what his question was in the end, but anyway, I just kind of like started off and I just started saying like, nah, like that's stupid. Like you shouldn't be doing it on that. And which is my normal answer to like most people who like, spout that like BS. But there was something about this guy where he came back and he was asking me like intelligent questions. He was like, well, like, why I can do this and I want to do this. And like Solano allows me to do it, or Ethereum, or like whatever it was that he was trying to do. And so I just had this like change of mind at that moment. And I actually just ended up engaging with him in a Twitter DM thread about like why Bitcoin is better and why he should only think about building on Bitcoin. Oh, wow. And what did he say? He started to see my point of view, but he didn't seem to be like fully convinced. He sounded like he was disappointed because like obviously doing it on Ethereum or Solana was the easier approach, right?
because they got all these nice libraries and code and everything is like super easy. Whereas if you're trying to do it on Bitcoin, you'd probably have to build it from scratch because it hasn't been done yet. But he definitely was willing to hear my side of it. And which is why I gave him a little bit more time and effort to hear his side of it. And I think I actually tweeted about it afterwards. I think I tweeted something like, I just engaged with a guy on a shitcoiner on Twitter.
Now he's a Bitcoiner.
And like, I normally wouldn't give these people the time of day, but like, hopefully I made some kind of like impact in what I was saying. But yeah, it was just one of those experiences where the guy seemed to be open to having a conversation. And so I did. But yeah, like, I mean, most of the stuff you see on Twitter is just garbage, right?
Yeah.
You see people like Bitcoiners like say, you know, Solano's trash, and then you'll get like 1,000 people comments underneath being like, well, what about this? And what about this? And it's just like, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like these days, I feel like we were talking about the other day about like for me, I just use the Bible as like a rule book these days, where like as long as I am following the Bible and praying every day and going to church and confession every week, like, and I use the Bible as a rule book to like stay in bounds of like my life and stuff. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's another little thing that helps me out a lot too during the week.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about that, and I feel like that was another thing that I've been doing too, is just like really going back to that approach of like, this is what it takes to make really good art. Like it takes this kind of dedication, this kind of discipline. And I think when you are creating beautiful things, I think having that purity as best as you can, because it's really hard. I mean, I'm sure I cursed on this podcast, but it's. I
don't think you've cursed yet.
I think I did.
You said shit coins,
but you know what I mean. Like it's. I feel like there's a there's a balance to that. Yeah. But I think trying to at least try to live in it, and knowing that you're gonna ask for forgiveness, and like you're gonna know that you're not perfect, because God knows you're not perfect, but that you're willing to confess about it and really willing to atone for it.
I'm inspired by your faith, man.
It's helped out a lot. It makes things
and
easier.
Everything, like and like that conversation we had like the other night where we talked about this as well, like keeping it like on a simple path. It's like I feel like this stuff is slowly seeping in. Like I'm trying to get myself on that path. And I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, but it's, I mean, we touched on it like really briefly at the start of the podcast, but like growing up in a Catholic family, went to church every Sunday till I was like a late teenager.
Really? Wow.
And then, of course, when you're a teenager, you don't want to go to church with your family and your parents. So like they say, okay, you can go by yourself. And, you'd end up hanging out the back of the church in the field, like kicking football and smoking cigarettes. And you'd stick your head in the door at the end just to see who the priest was, so you could go home and tell your mom who the priest was. So like, that was like typical teenage stuff. And then like around that time, late teenager, like early 20s, it's just like, you just start to realize like all this like Catholic scandal like stuff was just happening with the kiddie fiddlers, and just like it disgusted me to my core,
right?
And I ended up just turning my back completely on Catholicism, 100%, church, everything. I just went like, screw it all, these people are pure evil. I want nothing to do with religion is the cause of all wars in the world. Like I hate it, like get it out of my life. And looking back now, I think that might have been an overreaction, because what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to get God back in my life, because I think it's a valuable thing to have, but I'm trying to make that separation between God and the church, because I think the church fundamentally is a problem. You might disagree with that. I know you go to church, and maybe one day I'll end up going back to church, and I'm sure there are good priests and good churches and dioceses. But for the most part, like the Catholic Church as an organization, when you're talking about like the Vatican and all the money it has and the property and the fact that it just moves pedophiles around from parish to parish so that they can keep on repeating what they're doing, like under the under the supervision of the bishop or whatever, is just horrible. Like it's a pedophile ring. And obviously they're not all like that, but I'm trying to separate that part, like the church from God, because being a Bitcoiner, obviously there's that huge connection, right? Jimmy Song talks about it a lot. He's written the book about it. There's a lot of like Christian Bitcoiners. There's a very strong connection. I heard Nate, Nate, Bull Bitcoin Nate, like absolutely amazing guy. Advisor Zaprite, like just been a friend for years, like, but just really, really amazing guy. And we were at a friend's house on Christmas Day actually, and I just heard him like talk about God and the Bible and the connection to Bitcoin so eloquently that it's ingrained in me now forever. And I think I want to try and get that back in my life. But I think there's a very powerful connection between, the Bible is this like single source of truth. Like you were talking about earlier, if you live, like, keep it simple, Stu, but if you live your life based on these simple principles, going to church, going to confession, praying, just like following like this simple path, the Bible is this like single source of truth that like helps to keep you grounded and gives you high signal in this like crazy chaotic world that we live in. And that's just what the blockchain is. It's what the time chain is. It's like block by block, every 10 minutes, this single source of truth is just like created and ingrained and like finalized every 10 minutes. And we can just get so much signal from it in this crazy world of manipulated money and upside down prices and crazy interest rates and like central bankers pulling levers left, right, and center. The time chain gives us this single source of truth to value like energy, our money, time, everything, like every 10 minutes, block after block. And I think like when you start to look at Bitcoin in that way and the time chain in that way and look at it like the Bible, this like, 2,000-year-old single source of truth that just helps keep us grounded in this chaotic world, I think you can't ignore the comparisons there, right? Like as a Bitcoiner, you've got to at least explore that. And that's what I'm kind of hoping to maybe do with the next like chapter of my life is to try and bring God back in and see if, just see if it works for me again. I've lived a very privileged life. I haven't needed God. And I feel like maybe that's not the way I should be looking at it. Maybe I should be looking at it like I should always have God there in case I need him in the future, and not be looking at it like, oh, I don't need God. I've got a privilege. Nothing bad has happened to me. Like I'm good. I don't need to pray every day. I'm good. But I think that's a very arrogant way to look at things. And yeah, I'm trying to come full circle back around to connect with God again. But obviously like dropping the Catholic Church side of it, at least that bad side of it, that is just, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah. Man, you said a lot there. Yeah, I think
I mean, I hope I did it justice, because like Nate's explanation was really phenomenal. I probably left out a lot of key parts, but that for me is enough to kind of, real kind of seal the deal to get God back in my life.
I think it's important because I think these days there literally is a good versus evil in our world. I really see it as, and I think if you don't see it, then you're probably on the evil side. I hate to say it, like
that's something that I say as well to people, and I don't say it to be pessimistic, but if you don't understand that the people in the powerful positions running the world now are fundamentally the most evil people on this earth, if you don't understand that, then you'll never see the problem. Like all of the people in the high positions of power that are running things right now are evil to their core. And if you don't understand that, you're going to have problems. If you think that these are nice people who are dedicating their lives to try and help the world, and they care about climate change, and they care about, like, you know, taxing the rich to help the poor. And like, if you fundamentally, one, you're like naive, is crazy, like that's just absolutely bonkers. But you have to understand that there are evil people in the world. So yeah, to your point, there is evil in the world. It manifests it in places where power centralizes, and you have to recognize that. And yeah, sorry, I probably cut you off there. In the middle of your point,
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail. Like there is that, and the vast majority of people, um, don't see it, like, because they're just covered in darkness, right? Like the majority of our city is covered in darkness, and the majority of the world is covered in darkness right now. So, every time when you send out like a good vibration or a good message, it shoots a light through those dark clouds. And I think just if we can get more people shooting that light through those dark clouds, I think eventually those dark clouds will break up and there'll just be more light. And I think it's really that simple. I don't think it needs to be any more difficult than that. It just needs to be like, go out and do your part, and like just kind of go from there. And like at the end of the day, like, for myself, I can only control like what I can do. I can't control like what other people can do, but I can talk to God about it and ask him questions if I have a question. And there's been times, multiple times, through this journey of mine, like where I've like literally like woke up in the morning, said a prayer, and then just ended up in tears, just like asking God, like, why this, why that? And then like lo and behold, within like 24 hours, I'll get a sign, and it'll just literally be like something that I was either needing, or something that, somebody I needed to talk to, or whatever it was that I was like asking God about. It literally just shows up right in front of my doorstep. And it's just like seeing that happen over and over and over and over and over again, to me is like such a powerful thing, because like just this past week, I was talking to God, and I was telling him there was a situation that I was having problems with. And literally like within 24 hours, those issues were resolved. And it wasn't anything that I directly influenced, or wasn't anything like that. But me and Super talking about it all the time, but prayer is very powerful. And like, there's not enough people praying right now, and you can tell in the world. And I think when you latch onto that, and you do that in like a disciplinary focus, and you put all your heart and soul into it when you're doing it, I think that's like it's like the most beautiful thing you can do, in your daily routine. And like for me, it works. It just works. Right?
Yeah.
So
I love that. I
think just making God your bestie is probably the best thing you can probably do.
Yeah.
But great chat, John.
All right. What time is it?